This is an ABC News special report.
Good afternoon. I'm Rachel Scott at ABC headquarters here in New York. We are coming on the air at this hour with breaking news. President Biden has just announced that he is ending his re-election bid.
President Joe Biden has just announced that he is dropping out of the 2024 presidential race. In a stunning letter that was just released moments ago by his campaign on X, formerly known as Twitter, Biden wrote, quote, that it has been the greatest honor of my life to serve as your president, and while it has been my intention to seek re-election, I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and to focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term.
All right, so as you just heard, Joe Biden is out of the race. It's wild because I think we all predicted this was going to happen. The Young Turks predicted it. All my friends on the right predicted it. It was everyone knew he had to get out of the race. Matter of fact, listen to these stats.
Yet our brand new ABC News Ipsos poll shows the Trump campaign may have some wind at its back, with Trump's favorability rating at 40%. That's up 9 points since June, and now at the highest level in nearly 4 years of ABC News Ipsos polling. This as President Biden is hunkered down with COVID and facing a swell of calls from Democrats to get out of the race. More than 35 members of Congress publicly calling for him to abandon his campaign. And our latest poll shows 61% of Americans believe Biden should leave the race, including 60% of Democrats. Vice President Kamala Harris fares slightly better overall in our poll, with 46% saying they'd be dissatisfied with her as the nominee, compared to 55% for Biden.
Now, listen, I know there are a lot of people who intended to vote for Joe Biden who are probably upset right now. But even Democrats knew Joe Biden had to go. To show you how bad it is, in Michigan, matter of fact, in Detroit, Michigan, Trump is leading in the polls. He's leading presidential polls in Detroit, Michigan. That's right, people. Democratic stronghold, Detroit, Michigan. Trump leads in the polls. This is not something I'm making up. Now, you can't really put too much stock in the polls. Remember, the polls said that Hillary Clinton was supposed to be president and Trump actually won. But I will say this. When Mark Zuckerberg starts singing Trump's praises, then I think Biden has a problem.
I've done some stuff personally in the past. I'm not planning on doing that this time. And that includes, not endorsing either of the candidates. Now, look, there's obviously a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world. The historic events over the weekend. And on a personal note, it's, seeing Donald Trump get up after getting shot in the face and pump his fist in the air with the American flag is one of the most badass things I've ever seen in my life. But look, it's, and I think, look, it's, at some level as an American, it's like hard to not get kind of emotional about that spirit and that fight. And I think that's why a lot of people like the guy.
So we all know what's happening here. Biden was headed for a major loss. He was losing in every swing state. And the Democratic convention is until next month. So they had this small window of opportunity to change horses. Now, changing your horse in the middle of a race, that's usually a recipe for disaster. I think we're walking into another Trump presidency. But that's just my opinion based on what I see. Trump's not only baked in his base, but he's added on to that, where the Democrats are fractured. They're fractured when it comes to Joe Biden leaving and who's going to be the nominee at this particular point in time. The narrative is trying to coalesce everything around VP Harris, but it's not happening as smoothly as I think the Democrats would want it to happen. Now, I think the reason why people aren't jumping on the Harris bandwagon as of yet are the numbers. And here are the favorability numbers between Biden, Trump, and Harris. And as you can see here, Harris is the least favorable out of all the three. Matter of fact, Biden, who most people think isn't fit to be president, is more favorable than Harris. So that is what has everyone concerned about her candidacy and whether she can win. That's why I think the Obamas and other Democrats aren't all jumping on the Harris bandwagon. So right now I'm on Ground News and I'm looking to see how it's being covered by like the left-wing sources and right-wing sources. So let me go to the most extreme left-wing sources and see what they're saying about this. Here we go. The Palmer Report. This is what Ground News says is the most extreme left. President Biden endorses Kamala Harris president, and so does the Palmer Report. So they're endorsing. That's pretty left-wing. Yeah, they're hardcore. They're in. All right, so now let me click on the extreme right-wing source as according to Ground News. The Gateway Pundit. Yeah, the Gateway Pundit is pretty conservative. It's right-leaning at best. I wouldn't even say right-leaning. This is right-wing. Just to show you guys, the Gateway Pundit is right-wing. Here it is. The founder and editor, the Gateway Pundit, one of the top conservative news outlets in America. So yeah, this is clearly right-wing. And it's pretty factual. It just seems like they're just kind of saying what happened here. Now, in this video, I'm going to be relying on Ground News a lot because I use it when I'm doing my research. It aggregates everything in one place. It just makes it easier. Like if I'm looking, for instance, if I want to see what the New York Post said about this story, about Biden's dropping out of the race, I just click on it and it takes me directly to the story. So it just makes it so much easier for me to use. And you'll see it a little farther along in the video, how the left-wing sources and the right-wing sources are covering this particular story of Biden dropping out of the race. Now, full disclosure, Ground News is sponsoring this video, and if you use my promo code, you get 40% off. Check it out. I go to ground.news/Nate to get 40% off Ground News' Vantage plan. So what do you get? Well, you get the coverage details and all of these sources aggregated in one place. You get the bias distribution, how the left wing or the right wing is spinning a narrative to the story. Now, you also get the blind spot report, which I think is the most valuable piece to this because you get to see what stories are not being covered by the left wing and what stories are not being covered by the right wing. Now, I highly recommend Ground News. I use it myself. Remember, go to ground.news/Nate. Use my link and you'll save 40% on Ground News. Check it out and let me know what you think. Okay, so I see the CNN clip of our boy Van Jones. He loves Biden. Biden is like his father. Like, it's like that serious. So let's see I just want to see how he responds.
The Democratic Party is a family. At the end of the day, this is a family matter. You know, Joe Biden's body may not be as strong as it used to be. His language skills may not be as sharp as they used to be. His heart.
I like how he even had to chuckle there when he says his language skills aren't what they used to be. You think? We all saw the debate performance. It's not even close.
Heart is as big as ever. His heart is as big and as true and as strong. And this is the difference between a politician and a leader. He made a selfless decision, and people are heartbroken. Even people.
This is spin. There's no way you're saying he made a selfless decision. Biden was going to run no matter what until the donors and they said, well, hey, listen, it's over. We're not giving you any more money.
All this up. And then finally, he gets the word from Jeffrey Katzenberg in Las Vegas, who before had been sort of the hero of fundraising, who had raised all of this money for Joe Biden, just telling the president the spigots run dry. Donors are not giving money anymore, Mr. President. We can't get donors to give money.
Let's just keep it real. Chuck Schumer and what's his name? Hakeem Jeffries, they both came out because they saw down ballot he was going to kill the Democrats in both the Senate and the House.
Let's get to some breaking news. U.S. Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer told President Biden it would be better for the country if he ends his re-election campaign.
That's why he got out. He didn't. This was no selfless act. Let's not pretend he was just being this selfless leader saying, I'm not going to run for the good of the country. If that was the case, he would have dropped out maybe a year ago, right? He wouldn't have ran up all those delegates in the primaries, because this was a problem then and it was a problem now. And it had to take that horrible debate performance, Trump's attempted assassination, and on top of that, he got COVID. So those three things had to happen for him to say, let me do it for the good of the country, when he's losing in every state badly. There's no path to victory for him. He knows it. The donors know it. You know it. Let's just not pretend that he's being this altruistic figure.
People who are pushing for this to happen, it's kind of like when your grandpa, you got to take the keys, and everybody, you got to take his keys, you got to take his keys, you got to, and he's fighting, and everybody's so frustrated, and then you finally get the keys back, and then you just cry, because this is somebody that you love, this is somebody that you care about, this is somebody who was there for you, this is somebody you wouldn't be here without him, and you have to take something from him. Now, this is not, look, this politics is politics, but this is a human moment for one of the great humans in America. This is a huge moment for him, for his family, for all of us who love him, for all of us who wanted him to get across the finish line. But if you're a young person watching this, this is leadership. This is patriotism. This
is a man who had to be forced out. Democrats are saying he was forced out. I'm not the only one saying he was forced out. I think everyone with a mind says he was forced out. So this isn't a guy who says, you know what, I'm going to leave because it's for the better of the party. That would mean he's leaving on his own accord. He's not being forced out, right? He's got to the point where he's at the edge of the plank. There's no path forward. And that's when he quits. He's saying, oh, he's so great for doing that. No, he was forced out. I don't know what, maybe Van doesn't understand. I think Van thinks he just went to the Oval Office one day and said, you know, babe, I know it's just 3 weeks to the convention, but you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do what's best for the country and drop out. Even though I've run all these primaries, even though no one else has any national campaign set up, right? Even though all that's even though all this money's in my campaign's name, so how are we going to get it to the next person? I've raised hundreds of millions of dollars. You know what? I'm going to drop out 3 weeks before our convention. First time in history that's ever happened. Van, he was forced out. We know he was forced out.
This is what it means to put the country first, and put the party first, and put the cause first. When your arm gets tired, you let somebody else finish pitching the game. That's what Joe Biden has done, and he's done that for all of us. And so I just want to say, I don't know who's going to be the VP, the non-VP. I don't know anything about politics. I just know that I love this man. I care about this man. It was painful every day to sit up here and talk about him like he's just some problem for the party. Wait till we get to the convention.
He was a problem. He could barely speak. I believe he was a problem. Listen, if the top of your ticket can't speak, right? If you can't speak, that's a problem.
You're going to see people crying, standing, screaming, cheering. He may not get a chance to talk for 10 minutes. We finally get a chance to put our arm around this guy. He did the right thing for this country. He did the right thing for this party. All of us are going to be in this situation someday, and I hope that we take a moment to honor this man and to love this man. I love Joe Biden. I appreciate what he's done, and a lot of people are heartbroken today.
Look at all those teary eyes. Let's see it. The other guy's like, yes. They're like, oh, yes, we miss that great man. He was forced out. He was forced out. He's not leaving because he wants to leave, right? He's not leaving for the betterment of the country. He's leaving because he was forced out.
And if it's the right thing, it's still just horrible.
Well, and Van, I mean, on that point, which is a great point that I think resonates with a lot of people, of the personal nature of a decision like this. We often talk about things in a harsh political lens of who's going to fare better.
So they're making Biden out to be this figure who's, went up to the throne and said, I give up the power because it's the best thing for the country. So let me get this right. Trump has all this momentum. 3 weeks before, 3 or 4 weeks, whenever the convention is, like middle of August, right? Very close. I'm saying 3-4 weeks to your convention. You leave. So now that means they got to find another person to run. And that person only has 3 weeks to get everything together. You've had like 2 years. They've only got 3 weeks. Then they get the nomination. Then they have to go to every one of these states and set up stuff, right? They got to switch with your stuff and set up stuff because your stuff is your stuff, right? We got to get our own stuff. If Harris, she's got to get her own stuff. So she's, they switching all that out, right? And then you go into the election. I think you can only say this was good for the Democrats if he'd have done this a year ago. Right? If he would have done this a year ago, then yes. But right now, I think this is a disaster. This is a horrid disaster. Trump is so far ahead. It's like I don't know how you can reasonably think this is a good thing for the Democrats at this particular point in time. I just don't see it. The only way I think honestly this is best for the Republicans. I think this is the best thing for the Republicans. If Joe Biden's gift to America was another Trump presidency, then he's doing a great job making it happen. Let me hold the nomination to the last possible second and then give it to my unpopular VP. She's even less popular than I am. 3 weeks before the nomination. And then let her go in after Trump has had all of this success, right? Yeah. I just don't see it. But again, we'll see what happens. All right, so I'm back to ground news. Let me look what else is going on from the Democratic Party. It looks like Dave Portnoy accuses Dems of hijacking democracy with timing of Biden withdrawal. And there's a video. Let's check it out.
How much did they have to pay the Bidens, the DNC? What was his retirement package? What did Joe Biden, Hunter, what did they get? Because that's all this has been, for a month or 2 months. It has been, what do we have to do to get you out of this race, Joe? Whatever, they finally got the right price, whatever that may be. It's what I said from the beginning. They whacked Joe when the powers that be sent him out for that debate with Trump. They knew what we've known forever. If you have two eyes and a brain, that he was a lettuce head, a vegetable. It's the right move. He shouldn't run. It's not for the right reasons. Like, he has been this way for years, and the Democrats have been hiding it. Then they're like, well, he probably can't beat Trump, so we got to get somebody else in there. How they waited this long, so now what? They can handpick, basically, who the replacement's going to be? What is it, Gavin Newsom, that slime bag from California? I hope not. Kamala, maybe, with Newsom on the ticket. Gretchen Whitmer, also not a fan. How they waited this long is insanity, and they're trying to hijack basically democracy.
So I went to Ground News' election center. It seems like the Republicans are talking about Trump going to war with Harris, even though she's not the nominee yet. And Harris and the leftists are looking at whether Harris is going to pick a nominee, who's going to be her vice president. I think this is the smart play, right? You get out in front of it. If you treat her as the nominee, it's going to be harder to take it away from her, right? She's like, oh, he's giving me the nomination, so she's running with it. Harris says she intends to earn it and win the nomination, but that's not what's happening. Now, it's going to be interesting. I do want to see what happens next, because we are living in some crazy times right now, and it gets crazy and crazier. We literally had, no matter if you like Biden or hate Biden, that debate performance was scary, because remember, that's the guy with the nuclear codes, the guy that can barely speak, the guy who's barely mentally there. It's just tough. Then let's not forget you got the assassination attempt on Trump, which is, again, a moment in history that they're going to be teaching your children's children about that event, right? We learned about the assassination kit of William McKinney, of Teddy Roosevelt. This is going to be this is at that level of importance to this country, no matter if you like Trump or hate Trump. If it would have happened to Biden, it would have been the same exact thing. And then Biden dropping out of the race, then Harris coming into it. It's a really, really crazy time. And I'm here on a Sunday looking through this thing and just be like, wow, what's going to happen next? So I'm here for the ride. Sorry, this wasn't one of my regular videos, but, this thing just kind of happened, and I kind of just was like, well, let me just at least look to see what's going on. And to be honest, using Ground News to aggregate everything made this just so much easier, because I was able to find, oh, look, this is what this person said, this is what this person said, and it's all here in one place. I don't have to kind of search around for everything. And it'll make it even better, so I can just literally click on the article, and it takes me to the page where the article is at. So who do you agree with? Do you agree with me that Biden was forced out? The donors said, hey, it's over for you. Just get to step it? Or do you think it's like what Van Jones is saying, that Biden was such a good man that he said, I'm going to give up the presidency because it's best for the country 3 weeks before the convention. Seems like that's the choice. But don't forget, like, share, subscribe to look at YouTube stuff. My name is Nick the Lawyer, and I'll see you in the next one.